Okay, well, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be. Now, I was watching a, a live video on with Robin Wong and Micro Four Thirds enthusiast on YouTube, and he was doing a live chat about exactly what I'd planned on doing, which I'm going to do now. And that's talking about where Micro Four Thirds is going, what's going to happen to the system. So please like and subscribe and put your thoughts in the comments, because, you know, this system's been around since 2008. So it's not been around that long, and I think it's been a very successful system. And I think it's a wonderful system. As you can see, you know, this is all my new Micro Four Thirds gear. And this is my African Safari kit right in front of you. And all that is so much smaller than if I was going to take a full frame kit with the equivalent focal lengths that I've got here in front of me. Everything would be a lot bigger and heavier. So, you know, this is ideal. I've also I got a bargain on a G9, the original G9. Somebody basically didn't know how to use it, so I got that for £350, in like brand new condition. So I've got that coming as well. So I may well take that along. So I've got 3 lenses, 3 bodies. So that would cover me if anything went wrong. And I should be able to get them all in. You know, I don't know that 3 full frame bodies and all these lenses would be possible. So, you know, this is one great advantage of Micro Four Thirds. But where is it going? What's its future? I think it's bleak, if I'm to be totally honest. I tried doing some research on this, and a lot of it is it's very much hidden from the public when it comes to trying to gain any figures on this, which also suggests that it's very bleak. What I did manage to find out is the market share of Micro Four Thirds is probably less than 5%, and Olympus or OM Systems is about 1%, which is not very high. And I tried to, you see, I think for some reason OM Systems or not Panasonic have always kept the system to the size, but OM Systems kind of started to break the size, weight and price barrier, and they started that with the 50 to the 150 to 400 big white lens. Now, as wonderful as that lens may be, it's more like a full frame lens in size. I know it's quite light apparently. I've not actually held one, so I'm not, but it is like more like it's a big lens. I mean, it's a small lens maybe for 1000mm, but nevertheless it's still physically a big lens, and it's also very expensive. Now, I tried to find out how many units of this lens they sold. You can't. They don't tell you. And I think that's a good indication that it wasn't many. You know, and you are seeing them now on the second-hand market. You can pick them up for a very reasonable £5,000. But I think that not many of them were sold in the first place. I think they had an initial waiting, you know, pre-order list, and I suspect most of them were in Japan. I doubt whether there was many outside of Japan. There were a few, obviously, but I don't think they sold them in great numbers. And I think that was part of the down. I think that kicked off because after that, or was the OM Systems decided to redesign a Sigma 150 to 600. Now, I didn't understand. I know some Micro Four Thirds rave about that lens, but to me, it was ridiculous. I've had the Sigma 150 to 600. I've seen the Micro Four Thirds version. It's the same lens. All they've done is adapt it for Micro Four Thirds, but you're paying twice the price for it. It's madness. And what's been produced since then? Not much. OM Systems are bringing in the now 50 to 200 this year, 2.8. But what is the point in that lens if you've got this lens? This is the 40 to 150, 2.8, which is about half the size, half the weight, and half the price. Why are you going to get, what are you gaining from it? You're losing a bit on the short end and you're gaining 50 millimetres on the long end. Are you really going to pay for something that's twice the price for an extra 50 millimetres? I don't get me wrong, I think it looks like a wonderful lens and I'm sure it's, some people it will suit them absolutely fine. But if you've got this lens, are you really going to swap it for that one? I don't know. I can't. And again, it's reason. I don't think it's too overly priced. Actually, I think the price is pretty reasonable. But there are loads of Micro Four Thirds lenses that cover everything anyway. So I don't know how many more lenses, apart from maybe revamping old lenses, that they can really bring out. And I think with a couple of those lenses, I think they were sold in very limited numbers. I really do. I don't think they were the best selling lenses for Micro Four Thirds. And where do OM go now with cameras? I mean, the OM1 Mark II is an incredible camera. I mean, it really is. And whether it be Olympus or OM Systems, put things in some features in these cameras that you don't find in Canon or Nikon or anywhere else. They're ahead of their time in so many ways. But they haven't really caught on. There's still a very tiny section of the market. And I don't know how sustainable that is. I think OM Systems will keep going for some time longer. But if we look at Panasonic, I think they've stopped. I think they've given up. I know they haven't announced anything, but I think they've stopped. I think they've finished because this was their last camera, and it now has the much improved phase detection and phase autofocus, and it's a brilliant camera, the G9 Mark II. But that was 2 years ago, and they've done nothing since. They haven't produced a lens since 2022, and there's nothing in the work. They're certainly not going to do anything this year. It would have been announced by now. So, unless they're going to produce something next year, but it's, to me, in my opinion, it seems like they've given up without actually announcing anything, because the proof is in the pudding. Is when they're not producing anything, then if they're not producing anything, they kind of stopped it, haven't they? So, and then it's going to be left to OM Systems, so, which I think it is now anyway. and I don't know what else OM systems can produce to keep the system going. I mean, I don't think they can produce another camera with a 20 megapixel sensor in it. It's got to have like a 30 megapixel sensor. If they don't, then I don't see a way forward, because the OM1 Mark II is as good as a camera gets, in my opinion. There's not a lot that the camera lacks. I mean, you'll always find something, I guess, but you know, it's by and far and away the best that Olympus OM system camera ever made. So I don't know how they improve it much unless they put a big more megapixels, and I don't know if that's possible. I'm not a camera engineer, so I don't know whether that's even possible. Otherwise, I would have thought they would have done it by now. So maybe they just can't with everything else they put in it, or whether they try and design a smaller camera. I just don't see where Mark IV Thirds goes from here. And I do think Panasonic have basically finished. I think they're just concentrating. I mean, Panasonic are a company that are, they produce TVs and God knows what else. So the camera market is probably a small share of their whole business model. And I think they've given up on Mark IV Thirds, which will just leave OM systems to produce anything at all. And I think for the foreseeable, maybe the next 3 or 4 years, they might continue to do so, but we will see. But I do think it's in its last few years. I mean, fortunately, these cameras and systems will be around for a long time to come on the second-hand market, and as different sellers have stocks of them sitting on their shelves unsold, they'll reduce the prices. So the system is going to be around for a long time to come yet, but and people, will still buy it, but with such a small market share, I really don't feel that it's got much life left in it, to be honest. Which is a shame, but I guess that's just the way it goes. Because at the end of the day, I think that runs across the whole camera market. I think although it's still quite flourishing in a lot of respects, it's still nothing like it was. I mean, if you go to the zoo nowadays or go anywhere, everybody's using their phones. And at the end of the day, our phones are getting better and better at photography tools. I mean, I'm filming this on my phone, and it takes great pictures, and it's easier to take pictures than it is to pick one of these up. So and the cameras in them are getting better and better and better. I mean, for some of us, they will never replace the wonderful feel and function of a camera, of a physical camera. I mean, if I'm going to take a photograph, I would much rather pick this up and use this than I would my phone. But we use phones because they're convenient and it's easy. I haven't got to turn it on because it's already on. This I've got to turn on. The button is right there. I haven't got to change settings, or it automatically does everything so well. So I can understand why cameras are disappearing on the amateur market, but there will always be people like me and people watching this video that love the form factor of a camera, and that will be around for many, many years to come. But I think they're all kind of you know, not as popular as they were. I can see a lot of camera shops closing. I think the whole camera ecosystem will change considerably. I can't see. I mean, according to, I think I asked ChatGPT, and they said the market's going well and it's predicted to stay strong up until 2034. Yeah, so, you know, there's always going to be a play, but I don't know whether they're including like action cameras in all that, and because if that's the case, a lot of people buy them, don't they? I don't know how much of a market share they have. I didn't check that out, but you know, it depends what they're including in this. But I don't know how many like cameras are selling in comparison. A lot of this is very hard to find out actually, to get an accurate. But I just go by it when I go anywhere nowadays. Everybody's using their phone, and not many people are using cameras. So it's definitely, the whole thing's in a decline. And as AI gets better and better, and phones get better and better, I think it will only introduce the decline of the camera systems eventually. I don't think they'll ever disappear, because people will always love the form factor. But yeah, so there you go. I think Micro Four Thirds, it will be around for quite some time yet, but I don't think we're going to see much more innovation or much more new stuff coming out. But that's just my opinion, so you tell me what you think. Let me know in the comments. Till the next one.